What's up? Hello, my name is Emma and today I'm going to be doing a college Q&A. Every time I go on Instagram Live, I get a ton of questions from you guys asking me to do a college-related Q&A. So I asked you for some specific questions on Twitter, and today I'm going to give you guys some advice on college academic tips, some college social life tips, as well as just talking about my personal experience in college. If you did not know, even though I like to mention it every 5 seconds, I received my bachelor's in psychology this past December 2017, and I had my commencement ceremony this past May. I am going to grad school. I start on September 5th, and so I've had like a lot of thoughts on college after it being a huge part of my life for the past 4 years, so I'm excited to chat about it with you guys. If you did not know, I was a commuter student, meaning I did not live on campus for any of my time during college, so I got quite a few questions on the pros and cons of being a commuter student. My decision to stay home from college was really based on the fact that I just was not ready to live on my own and have all of these responsibilities that I wasn't used to having fall completely on me without any of my parents' support. There are some people that love the freedom of college and they really needed to be out of their childhood home, which is perfectly fine for you, but you know, I like the fact that my mom can still make me dinner almost every night. I like that I can text her one day and ask her to pick up something from CVS on the way home and just not have to do every single thing in my life myself without having someone there to help me through, especially some of the more difficult portions of growing up and becoming more of an adult. One of the pros for my specific situation was I had an agreement with my family where if I stayed home from school, they would help me put a down payment on a car so that I could drive to and from school. If I went away, I wouldn't get a car, so that was just something that really benefited me because a car was way more important. I would say the only con is that you're just not as socially engaged as the other students who are dorming at school and are seeing each other at all hours of the day. But also my school is a big commuter school. We only have 2 pretty small dorm buildings, so like almost everyone I knew did live at home or by themselves and commute to school. So it wasn't a huge challenge for me as it might be for someone who goes to a really big university with lots of dorming students. Holly asks, how long did it take for you to get comfortable and familiar with college life? Again, as a commuter, I feel like I didn't really have a huge adjustment to make. I still worked at the same job I worked in high school. I still saw the same people in my personal life. I was still just driving to and from school to do work and be in class. So the physical transition of college wasn't big for me. I feel the only adjustment I really had to make was to become comfortable with sitting in a class and learning one subject for an hour and a half or 3 hours, because that was very, very different from a 40-minute class in high school. Also the work of just getting used to having more work and having to do more of it on my own as opposed to having a short sheet for homework every night. But honestly, once you get past that first semester and you start doing that more, I think it is a pretty easy adjustment in terms of academics. Kath asks for a do's and don'ts sort of things regarding applications. My memory of the application process is really, really strained because it was over 4 years ago. I do know that I used the Common app, which if you have the ability to use the Common app, I totally say go for it because it's so much easier than filling out individual applications for every single school. My biggest don't is do not procrastinate. I had quite a few friends that were working on finishing their application with moments to their school's deadline. Don't do that. Do start it as early as you can, but also pace yourself. Just do a couple minutes every day, set aside 1 day a week to work on it, and just pace yourself so it doesn't have to be so overwhelming of you spending hours filling out your applications. Also with college essays, because I know that stresses so many people out. For my school, we actually had to write a college essay our junior year, even if it wasn't the one we submitted with our applications. But if your school doesn't make you write one, I would definitely say ask one of the English teachers in your school to help you with it. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to give you guidance to edit it for you and help you produce something that you're really proud of. And on that note, write something you are passionate about. Don't just bullshit it into what you think the people reading your application are going to want to read, because I promise you your application will stand out so much more if you write about something unique and individual to you. If you need some inspiration, I wrote my college essay on my depression and how going to a music festival was a really significant moment in my life. I talked about how I had made a promise to myself to end my life before I turned 16 when I was 13 years old, how after I had passed that and I was feeling guilty about not completing that promise to my past self, I was invited to music festival, and it just totally changed my perspective on the world. So definitely write about something close to you that you are proud of, and the college people will definitely see it. I also got a lot of questions on majors. Number one, how to pick a major, and number two, how to deal with doubting your major. I don't know if I'm necessarily the best person to give advice on picking a major when you have absolutely no idea what you want to do, because since before I was applying to college, I knew I wanted to go into a helping profession, so it was really easy for me to choose social work or psychology. My advice, if you don't know what you want to do, is either just pick a major that you're interested in, because you will be able to change it later if you decide that's not what you want to do, or go in as undecided. Almost every college I've ever heard of allows you to go in without picking a major, get all of your gen eds done, and choose at the end of your second year. And within those first 2 years, take electives on things that really interest you, things that you could potentially see yourself wanting to learn more about and wanting to make a career out of. And from there, from learning more about exactly what other people who are majoring in that are going to learn, you might find your path that way. And then for those asking if I did doubt my major, what to do if you're doubting your major or if you want to change it, a lot of people don't know that I didn't actually go into school as a psychology major. I went in as a social work major, and after I took an abnormal psychology class, I changed my major to psych after my first semester. At the time, I actually had not taken any social work classes, but I did take that one abnormal psych class, and I was like, that is what I want to study. That is what I came here for. So it was a really easy switch for me. But even after I did change my major to psychology and I was more and more invested and realized like that's really what I came here for, even now having my psychology degree, I sometimes do doubt, did I make the right decision for myself? I think an important part of it is to recognize where your doubt is coming from. Are you doubting yourself because other people are telling you that you should be studying something else? Are you doubting yourself because you've been studying this for a while and you realize this isn't what you wanted to do and you don't think you would be happy doing this for the rest of your life? Or are you doubting yourself because you think that the field you're going into isn't going to make a sustainable living for you, which is what I deal with the most. And the way I remain confident in my decision at the end of the day is just reminding myself that there is nothing else in the world that I would be happier doing than helping people. You know, I went back and forth for a while if I wanted to go into forensic psychology and I wanted to study the mind of criminals and become a profiler, but I'm not as passionate about that as psychology as much as it interests me. You know, I'm good at psychology. I feel like I'm a very empathetic person, and I feel like I would best fit in the counseling world. So I think a lot of it is just like determining where that doubt comes from and if you are really doing what is going to make you happy and what you want to do for the rest of your life. Because although like counseling, I'm not going to be super rich when I'm older, and I probably am going to struggle, but I'm also not going to be unhappy for the rest of my life because of the job I chose, and that's the most important thing for me personally. Sabrina asks, what was your favorite college experience? I have so many favorite memories from the time when I was in college, but a lot of them aren't specifically related to my college because I wasn't very socially active on campus. So my favorite moment is actually academic related. I am such a nerd. I would say my favorite college experience overall was just the fact that I got to learn about psychology. I was so interested in psych in high school, and the fact that I was actually able to pursue this as an interest and gain more knowledge, so much more knowledge that I even knew existed about psychology, was so exciting for me. On top of that, I just have so many great memories attached to projects and things I produced for my classes that I'm really proud of. I had one course where I had to actually conduct my own research, and I had an amazing time with that. So like, not to be a total dork, but definitely my favorite experience of college was the ability to learn about something I was really interested in and to just grow with my passion in it. Sorry, I don't have any crazy college party stories for you. I got quite a few questions on how to make and maintain friends in college, and also if I joined any clubs. And to tie those two together, I would say the best way to make friends in college is to join a club. What I love about clubs is that it places you in a position with other people who already share an interest with you. So there's no like need for awkward conversation because you can literally just talk about the subject of your club until you're more comfortable with them and you start to talk about other friend-related things. I think a lot of courses make it really hard for you to truly make connections with your classmates because, you know, it's usually just walk in, wait for class to start, take notes, and then leave unless it's a very like immersive experience in class. You're not going to be able to talk to a lot of people. So I think clubs are really great because it gives you the opportunity to chat about things that you like and the other person like, and you can form a friendship from there. I did actually join one club in college. I was actually on my college's Quidditch team. I went to Molloy College. Arnie was the Molloy Weasleys, like Molly Weasley, and it was so much fun. I'm really sad it was so short-lived. Our coach and like the head of the team graduated the December of my first semester, and so no one really wanted to step up to the plate. A lot of us were freshmen and we were like, we don't know how to run a club. So it just sort of dissipated and I never really connected with those people again. Not only was actually playing Quidditch so much fun, but like we all suffered through our training nights together, and that was a great bonding moment. We had like night parties where we would be on campus hosting like a Harry Potter movie marathon, and we would all bake and stuff, and it was a really great time. I think definitely if Quidditch had lasted throughout my college career, I absolutely would have stayed on the Quidditch team and we would have gone and competed and stuff, and it would have been a really fun time. Also, in terms of clubs, I always forget about these two things. Nearing the end, like my last semester of college, I was actually in the psychology club, but psychology club was like really lax. We had like one meeting a month, you didn't have to show up, and it wasn't very engaging, so I just like forget it happened. And also in my junior year, I was inducted into my college's psychology honor society called Psi Chi, which was really cool. Again, we had very infrequent meetings, but it was a nice way to grow closer not only to my fellow psychology students, but also my teachers and just people who were involved in the psychology world, so that was really great for my academics. I literally had like 20 different people ask me about organization and scheduling because for some reason, so many of y'all think I have like the best time management skills ever, even though 99% of the time I would disagree with you, but I do have some tips. My number one recommendation when it comes to keeping things organized in college is get a planner. There were some years in college where I literally spent like $50 on a custom personalized planner that I designed myself, but in the student center of your school, they probably have some place where they give out planners for free. This is my planner for grad school. I got it at Barnes & Noble, and I just really like planners that have a calendar, like a monthly calendar with a box for each day, and a weekly planner where it is the date and then a couple of lines on the next date, so you have the ability to write down different things that you have to do that day or new assignments that you get that day in class, etc. Get yourself a planner. Use it frequently, write down whenever you have a new assignment, write down whenever an assignment is due, and if the due date is changed, change it in your planner. I do not understand how anyone gets through college without a planner. Get a planner and use it. I do want to spend a significant amount of time focusing on time management for this video and showing you exactly how I formatted my days, so I'll do that in a minute. But really when it comes to time management, it's all about knowing your priorities and what order they are, knowing what is like an obligation that you have to do at a specific time and what is a little bit more flexible, and then molding them into different blocks throughout the day. During my fall semester of my freshman year, I was a full-time student while also having 3 different part-time jobs, doing YouTube, managing to read, and just everything else that goes into being a person that is not work or school related. But I did manage to make it work and not lose my mind. So let me show you some of the ways that I really format my schedule in order to make the best use of my time and get everything I need to done. So first I'm going to fill in my obligations, meaning any time where I am set to be at a certain place for a certain time. To start with work, I would always work from 9 to 1 on Monday, Wednesday, and then I would work 9 to 2 on Friday, plus 9 to 5 on Saturday. When it comes to class, which is also an obligation, my Mondays and Wednesdays and then Tuesdays and Thursdays almost always look identical because usually classes are twice a week, but I'm going to switch it up so we see a variety of different schedules throughout the week. So let's do Monday. Let's say from about 1:50 to 3:30, I have class. Then let's say I have a little break and I have another class starting at 5 and ending at 6:30. Then let's say on a Tuesday I have 2 classes from 9 to 12. Let's say Wednesday after work I only have 1 night class, so that's gonna be from 6:30 to 9:30. And then let's say on Thursday I have a class from 10:30 to 12. And then I have another one from about 1:40 to 3. I don't think this is accurate to how many classes I took during college, but this is, again, just for showing you the organization process. And let's say I add in one more obligation here. I usually go to therapy at like 4:30 to about 5:15 on Tuesdays, so that's therapy. So all of these colored in boxes are my obligations. I can't get out of them. I'm going to be doing these at the same time every single week. So all of the white bits are of me to format everything else in my life. So let's go through each day of the week. Let's start with Monday. So this time right here, this is mostly me traveling from work to class. I can't do a lot. I can't study in this time because I'm driving. What I can do is read. This is a perfect time for me to listen to my audiobook on the drive to school. This hour and a half in between my classes, I would stay on campus. I'm not gonna drive 20 minutes home and then drive 20 minutes back to spend like 20 minutes at home. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to eat my dinner because that's an important thing you have to do every day, but I'm also going to study and do homework while I eat so that I can make use of this time while I'm on campus in an academic place where I can focus on studying. So on Monday, my day really ends at 6:30. I have a little bit of travel time here going home, but then afterwards I can do whatever I want. So I can use this time. I can read, I can study more if I have extra work, I can film or edit for YouTube, or I can hang out with friends. Lots of options, but this is like a prime free time right here. So again, I'm gonna have to incorporate like 30 minutes for travel time here, but here is another free period. So what I would do here is I would stay on campus until I need to leave for therapy, and this is another place where I would study or do homework. Because again, I'm on campus, I'm in an academic place. I can also read while I'm here, I can relax, I can eat my lunch because again, that's important. So this is another free time to either study or do something enjoyable. It's up to you. After therapy, we have more travel time. Again, this is all prime reading time for someone who listens to audiobooks, or if you like to listen to music, or you could listen to Netflix in the background, what have you. Then again, say from like 6 to 10 p.m., it's another free time. So let's say I spend Monday night doing YouTube stuff. I might take a pole class, or go to the gym, or read, study, film, edit, any of that stuff. Another good free time. I think you're sort of getting the gist with these times, that there's a lot that you can do. Now, this is a really big break for me if I have one from like 2 o'clock to about 6:30. That's a lot of time for me. So in this time, I would personally go home. I would maybe do YouTube. I would maybe run errands. I could stay on campus and study, all that fun stuff. Personally, when I have late classes and I have some time before I go to bed, because I don't immediately go to bed after night classes, I'm not going to study at this time. I've had my fill of work for the day. So this is a time to relax. Again, that means reading. A lot of times for me, that means hanging out with my boyfriend if he's off of work. So that's a time that I can actually spend time with my friends as well. Okay, Thursday from like 12 to 3. Again, I'm gonna eat and study here for sure. Could read, could do, what have you. On Thursday, after I get home from school and I do my little traveling here, I'm probably gonna relax for a bit. I will probably spend like maybe 2 hours doing that, and then after that, I will maybe go to pole, I'll go to the gym, I will just do all of these things I keep repeating because my life is very, very repetitive. Because I personally try to study as much as I can during the week, I like to reserve my Fridays for relaxing, for reading. I'm just getting really sloppy at this point. Netflix, friends, family, fun time. When it comes to my weekend work, when I work all day, I usually have some time during work to work on schoolwork. So I can actually get in some studying here, but that's very individual to my job. Afterwards, I can study, I can do fun stuff. I feel like the week is really where my structure is. After work on Saturday, or if I have like full day free on Sunday, I do like to dedicate a lot of that time to relaxing and doing things that I enjoy, engaging in my hobbies and whatnot, because there's so many times when I just don't have the ability to do that during the week. For me personally, doing this amount of studying and homework during the week was usually enough for me. Sometimes if it went over, I could study on a Sunday and dedicate some time to that. But but my weekends are usually the most flexible for me because I pack my entire day during the week. So that's basically how I organize my time in college. I just set those specific times where I have to be places and I can't get out of it, and then I look at what I can actually accomplish in these times. I can only read at that time if I'm listening to my audiobook. I can really only eat and study and maybe read at that time. So it's just about prioritizing and then figuring out how much you can accomplish in the times that you have the ability to schedule it yourself. Destiny asks, how many classes did you typically take at once? I'm taking 5 classes in a lab this semester, which is 15 credits, and I'm beginning to wonder if it's too much. At my school, the standard for if you want to graduate in 4 years is to take 16 credits per semester. I actually came into college with 15 credits from high school. Do not ask me how I did it. I'm still not convinced that I came in with 15 credits and I just sort of like unintentionally cheated my way through college and graduating early. So I somehow came in with almost a full semester's worth of credits, and there was one semester where I actually was intentionally going to take 12 credits because I felt like my workload the semester before was too much, and I ended up taking 17. So that's how I graduated early, and that's how many classes I took. It was typically 5 3-credit courses and then 1 1-credit course. I got quite a few questions on how best to study and any tips for taking notes. For virtually every class I took in college, I was always provided a review sheet before an exam, so I always knew exactly what I had to look for in my notes, and after learning that that was the norm at my school, I was able to sort of change the way that I took notes to make it easier for me to find and understand that information while I'm filling out that review sheet and adapting it better to my head. First of all, I always write my notes. I don't understand how anyone can successfully retain information by typing it and then rereading it on a computer, but that's just me. So I figured the best way to show you guys my note-taking process and how it helps me to better retain information when it comes to studying. So I decided to pull out a sheet of my notes from my biopsychology class and just show you exactly how I write them. So to take all of my notes, I use college ruled paper because it has the most lines and space for notes, and I always write in a 4-color pen. For some reason, I tend to get like dizzy and confused anytime I read a sheet of paper that is completely written in one ink color. So being able to divide up my notes and have different sections in different colors really helps me not only to just read easier, but it also obviously helps me to organize my notes. So I always use red to do chapter headers and the header of each PowerPoint. So for all of my notes, no matter what color I'm writing in, I always use black as just like filler words that aren't important. I use green for any information that I feel is just generally important. I know that's very broad, but I do try to write as little as possible in these different colors so that it's easy for me to identify the exact information I need to memorize. So for example, with this line, the human brain contains about 100 billion neurons. The most important piece of that sentence is 100 billion neurons. I don't really need to remember that the human brain contains. If I see the number 100 billion neurons, I'm gonna know it has to do with the human brain. Moving on to blue, I mostly use blue for definitions because in psychology, definitions are really important. You get definitions in every single class, in every single lecture. So while I do mostly use blue for definitions, I do also use it for just like bigger pieces of information that are still really important. It's kind of hard to explain the difference between information written in blue and information written in green for me, but it's just my system. You know, if you like to highlight, you know, you'll find out when certain things are meant to be highlighted and whatnot. It's all individual, but basically using these 4 different colors and designating each color to a specific piece of information makes it really easy for me to flip through my notes when I'm filling out review sheets or trying to study. So for example, if I have a review sheet and I get to the chapter 2 section of it, I know I just have to look for chapter 2 in red, and that's all I have to do to look through my notes to find the section of information I need. If I'm filling out a section of notes where it says what is the membrane or what is the mitochondrion, I know that I'm looking for a definition, which means I'm looking for blue. So when I'm flipping through my notes, I only need to look for blue to find the main pieces of information, and so on. So that's personally how I format my notes. If I were even to type my notes, I would probably still use the system of color coding because I think it just makes it so much easier to visually read and find information when I need it. After taking notes, when it comes to studying, my #1 tip for me personally is to not study at home. I cannot do any of my schoolwork in the comfort of my room. I just get so distracted with all the other things that I could do with my time when I'm home. So I always study at school or at work or at the library, just some place that I can like really devote myself to studying. I have always found review sheets to be the most effective as opposed to just reading your notes and trying to memorize every single bit of information. If it isn't provided to you by your teacher, definitely make it yourself. If you make it early enough, you could probably ask your teacher to look over it and see if you are missing any important information, and then just fill in the blanks. And I find that to be the best way to study. I need sound to study. I cannot focus in silence, so I like to listen to music that doesn't have any words. So there are definitely some artists and some songs that I like to listen to specifically to study, but sometimes I also just like to type in studying music to YouTube, and there's like a 3-hour video of all this soft music to really help keep you engaged while also studying. And finally, in order to keep myself motivated to study, I like to set alarms because I feel it's so overwhelming to just like sit down in front of your computer and be like, I have to study all night. I have 8 hours until my test tomorrow, and I have to spend every single one of them studying. You know you're not going to. You know you're gonna take breaks. So I feel the best way to keep yourself on track is to set alarms. So for example, if I sit down to study at 3 p.m., I will set a 1-hour timer that will go off at 4. At 4, I can check my phone, I can get up and make a snack, I can check the computer, whatever. When I finish that, I go back, I set another alarm, because I think having a distinct endpoint to when you can stop studying is really motivating, as opposed to being like, I have to do this all night long. Also on the topic of taking notes, I have a question from Katie Nick for Ev, and it is, do you ever get overwhelmed with taking notes during lectures, like everything is moving too fast and you can't keep up? Yes, all the time, because I write all my notes. I am such a slow writer and I very frequently fall behind. In this day and age, I'd wager most professors teach off of things like PowerPoint slides or Microsoft Word documents. So a lot of those things can be given to you electronically. I had quite a few professors who would actually upload them before class so you could follow along. So if you have the ability to do that, I would often just pull up the PowerPoint on my phone and I would just write my own notes at my own pace while trying to pay attention to the lecture. And my holy grail hack for teachers who don't send you the notes electronically and go too fast is literally take a picture of every slide as soon as it's posted on the front board. Then you can just look at it and write at your own pace. And if any of your teachers give you a problem about it, just explain to them that you are falling a little bit behind and you don't want to disrupt the class by asking the professor to keep pausing for you to finish your notes. I used to do that every single day in college, and it absolutely kept me on top of all of my notes so I didn't miss anything. Ella asks, did you ever find studying psych triggering? I'm considering it, but I'm really worried some of it might negatively affect me, so I was wondering what your experience has been like as someone who's personally suffered with mental illness. Personally, no, and that's because mental illness is such a small part of all of what psychology really is. It's about biology and lifespan development and personality and motor functioning and memory and just so many more things that are in mental illness. If you are a psych major, you are going to spend way more time learning about psychology things that aren't mental illness compared to spending time actually learning about mental illness. And that's not to say that the content can't still be triggering, because of course it can, but I definitely expected there to be more of a focus on learning about the intricacies of mental illness than it was, and there's just like so much more content that you're going to spend time learning about. I love this question. It's from Sarah, and it says, which seat in the classroom do you usually take? My ideal seat is in the second or third row. I don't typically like to sit in the back because it's further away and I sometimes have more trouble seeing the notes, but I also don't like to be in the front because I don't like thinking that my professor is looking at my desk the entire time and just constantly aware of what I'm doing. And if I'm in any row other than the first row, I don't like to sit in the middle. I like to sit a little bit closer to either of the walls because I hate sitting right behind someone who is going to block the board's view from me. I like to sit on a little bit of a diagonal so I do still have a full view of the board. Isabella asks, best electives to take while getting a bachelor's to prepare for a master's in clinical psychology. I love this question. I feel like this is actually one of my biggest pieces of advice for college tips overall, not just related to psychology, but it is take as many electives as you can in the same field as your major. I don't understand why you're gonna go to college and spend thousands of dollars every semester in order to take easy A courses that aren't going to benefit you in later life. I did take some really cool electives that actually interested me and weren't psychology related. I got to take a self-defense class. I got to take a history of tattoos and body art class. I took ceramics. So like, it's okay to take things that you're interested in that aren't related to your major, that might be easy for you, but just don't take a bunch of easy A courses because you aren't going to learn anything and you're going to miss out on so much information related to your major by only learning about it through the required courses. Some psychology electives that I personally loved were forensic psychology, criminology, which was basically just like we learned all about different serial killers, and it was really dope. I took positive psychology, I took psychology of creativity, I took psych of women, I took adolescent psychology because I want to work with adolescents and young adults specifically. That's just 6 off the top of my head, and I'm pretty sure I have 1 or 2 more that I took just because I wanted to learn more about psychology. It is like my biggest recommendation for you in college. Look at the list of all of the courses related to your major. Take ones, as many as you can, that aren't specifically required for your major. Even if it's additional work, I promise you it matters so much more in the long run. Jennifer asks, an experience you regret not doing in college. I went into college with this academic focused mindset, and I maintained that all throughout college, that like I am here to learn, I am here to get good grades, I'm not here to make friends, I'm not here to party, I am here to get my degree and move on. And while I stand by that as being the best view of college for me personally, and if I had to do it all again, I would have the same perspective, but I do definitely wish I had made more friends in college. So I definitely regret not making at least one meaningful friendship in college, and I think a lot of it was me preventing myself from doing that and not allowing myself to get closer to people. But like, I'm still super happy with my college experience, and I don't consider it a huge regret that totally ruined my college experience. And finally, I had the same question from Paige and Sarah. What do you wish you knew when going into college, or what would you want incoming freshmen to know? Definitely just a few little things. Like, I wish I could tell myself, like, even though Quidditch didn't work out, join another club so that you can meet more people and make more friendships. That's definitely something I want people to know. Join a club. I'd want people to know that your past does not matter in college. If you got into college and you're studying, nothing that has happened in high school matters. It doesn't matter if you were popular, it doesn't matter if you were unpopular, it doesn't matter if you got decent grades or if you got amazing grades. All that matters is what you're doing in the present. So try your hardest not to let those past experiences influence you so much, because it really is a fresh start, and that's something that was really important to me going into college. Also, put your studies first. Like I said, I just don't understand people who pay all this money to go to college and not go to class, not do their work, spend all their time partying. I don't get it. Obviously, there's gonna be times when we're sick or we have to miss class, or you make a conscious decision to skip a class to work on an assignment that is due in another class. But like, missing a class in college is so crucial, and you will fall so far behind so quickly if you are regularly skipping your classes. So just like, do what you came there to do. Also, make an acquaintance in every single one of your classes. These are not people who have to be your good friends. If I'm being honest, I did not even know the names of some of these people that I would use for this reason, but it is so important to have at least one person in every single one of your classes that you can message on Facebook, that you can text, or even just someone whose email address you know from school, who can send you notes when you miss a class, because a lot of times professors are like, you're on your own with getting notes. If you need clarification on when an assignment is due, it's just really important to have one person who can be your sort of go-to when you can't or don't want to contact your professor. Alrighty, well, that really concludes my college Q&A. Thank you guys so much for all of your amazing questions, and I am so hopeful that some of what I talked about in this video is helpful to you, whether you are someone who is super far off from college, whether you are just going into college now, or if you were currently a student, or maybe if you're even a grad student, maybe some of this was relevant to you. So I really hope this video was helpful. Sorry it was long, but I had a lot to talk about. But that really concludes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!